Great. I'd like to officially welcome everybody to Supervisors and VISTA's Planning Together for Life After VISTA. I'm Amy Kanata with Education Northwest in Portland, Oregon, and I'll be your host for today's session. We have a team supporting us today, and to start, I'd like to welcome Jessica Birch from the Corporation for National and Community Service, VISTA Training Unit, and Renika Prater from the VISTA Member Support Unit. Our guest speaker today is Christina Barger. Christina has been the CSU STEM VISTA Program Manager for over 2 years with the California State University Chancellor's Office Center for Community Engagement. The CSU STEM VISTA program aims to increase the academic and professional success of historically underrepresented students in science, technology, engineering, and math, otherwise known as STEM. And this program year has been, Christina is hosting 17 VISTA members who are serving throughout the state of California. Christina is a CSU and VISTA alum, having served two terms at the Massachusetts Campus Compact AmeriCorps VISTA program. So thank you all for being here, Christina, Renika, and Jessica. And now I'd like to turn it over to Ms. Jessica. Go ahead, Jessica.
Thank you, Amy, and thank you guys so much for joining us today. As Amy mentioned, my name is Jessica Birch, and I am a VISTA Training Coordinator. Before I was a Training Coordinator, I was a VISTA Member Support Unit Specialist with the VISTA Member Support Unit in Austin, Texas. I also served as a VISTA in 2011 with the Alaska Network on Domestic Violence and Sexual Assault in Ketchikan, Alaska, also known as the salmon capital of the world. So if you are a salmon fan, I suggest you go there. I was once in your shoes of trying to figure out what to do next after service. And I am so excited to be here to present this information to you and to give you some valuable insights around preparing for life after VISTA. So to start us off, I do once again want to thank you all for responding to the chat question, what's something you learned about yourself through VISTA service. Some of the main themes that came in were flexibility, patience, perseverance, communication was a big one as well. There's also some talk about the Warriors-Thunder game last night. I don't know the results of that, so you can definitely ask people what that is. But really those themes of flexibility, patience, self-reliance, and resilience, that's really key to VISTA. So thank you all for sharing that, and I'm happy that you guys are learning such valuable things during your VISTA year. So as we get started, I just want to outline a few of the objectives that we have here for today. So by the end of this webinar, we hope that you'll be able to identify the end-of-service activities to discuss and pursue. As the webinar mentions, this is supervisors and VISTAs working together to prepare for life after VISTA. So there's different responsibilities for both supervisors and VISTAs, and we're going to go over those in more depth. We also hope that you can recognize strategies and benefits that you can utilize to prepare for your future, whether you're going to serve again or go on to a career or maybe even go back to school. And last but definitely not least, we hope that you can identify the steps that both you as VISTAs and you as supervisors should take to complete those end-of-service tasks and successfully continue life after VISTA.
Hello, this is Renika. I am from the VISTA Member Support Unit. We're excited to have both members and supervisors on the call today. We are curious how many teams we have on the call today. Please take a moment to complete our poll. If you could answer the poll questions on the right side of your screen, that would be great.
Thanks, Renika. So that's Renika, everybody. Renika's, like she said, with the VISTA Member Support Unit. She is a rock star. If you have to call the VISTA Member Support Unit, there's a good chance you'll talk to Renika. So we're very happy to have her here. She gives some great insight as to what the VMSU does in and out, and she answers a lot of those calls that people ask about. Education award, non-competitive eligibility. So Renika is definitely a great resource, and we're happy to have her co-presenting with me today. So that poll is still open. We just want to know who's here with us today. Are you supervisors who are going to share this information with your members? Or are you a member who's going to share it with others, whether that be your supervisor or other VISTAs? Maybe you're a VISTA member supervisor team, or maybe you're a VISTA leader who will share this information with your members. So take a quick second. That poll is going to close here in just a few seconds, and we'll see who is with us today? All right, that poll has ended. So let's take a look here while these results come in. I'm trying to think who's going to be the most. I think we're going to have mostly members, but I'm hoping we're going to have some member supervisor teams here. All right, poll results. We're waiting for those. It's killing me, this anticipation. All right, yes, all right. So my inkling was right here. The majority of people we have on here are members who will share this information with others. And our second highest group are supervisors who are going to share this with members. Thank you so much, supervisors. We really appreciate you being here and sharing this with your VISTA members. You really don't know how valuable that is. So we're happy to have you all here today. So as we get started, there are a majority of you who are VISTA members, and there are some of you who are calling in with your supervisors. The VISTA supervisor relationship is an important one, and one that can really help to determine the success of a project. One of the things that you and your supervisor, or for those supervisors who are calling in, you and your VISTAs, should start discussing, if you haven't already, is the sustainability of the project and the work you've been doing. One of the main things you should start talking about is how to pass off the duties once your VISTA year ends. So why is this transition important? So one of VISTA's 4 key principles is sustainable solutions. The other 3, hopefully you all know these: anti-poverty focus, community empowerment, and capacity building. As directed by Congress, VISTAs are short-term resources that serve to build the long-term sustainability of anti-poverty programs. VISTA projects should be developed with a goal to phase out the need for VISTA members and maintain the ability of the project to continue without them. Or in other words, VISTAs are there to work themselves out of a job. As the last sentence indicates, the work must go on, with or without the help of VISTAs. And it's part of the project supervisors and the VISTA's responsibility to ensure that it does. And let's face it, you want the work you did during your VISTA year to be sustainable and continue on without you. You want to create that legacy. So, sounds easy enough, right? But where do you begin? What do VISTAs and you as their supervisor need to do to make sure the project work continues after the VISTA year ends? In PSO and in supervisor's orientation, we define capacity building as the transfer of knowledge, products, and relationships. No matter how much information a VISTA gains, how many deliverables they create, or how many professional contacts they develop, if those knowledge, those products, those relationships are not intentionally passed on to others, whether that's in your organization or in the community, your work as a VISTA will not be sustainable.
Be sure you work together with your VISTA or supervisor and make a plan for passing on the capacity you've built during your year of service. In order to facilitate the conversation we hope you have with your VISTA or supervisor, we are going to go over a few helpful tips that you should start thinking about.
So just a few tips, some pass-it-on tips. So first, make sure everything is saved in a location where the organization or your supervisor can access it.
Make sure you share the password for anything that is password protected. For example, if you are serving as a volunteer coordinator and you manage the organization's volunteer email or inbox, make sure you give the password to that email address to your supervisor so that there is a seamless transition once your VISTA service ends.
And make sure that everything that needs to be documented is documented, including contact lists and so forth, so that a new VISTA can hit the ground running. And supervisors, this is also important for your organization in case your current VISTA is your last VISTA.
And next, meet with the key staff and others in the community to inform them of the change and discuss the transition coming up, what to expect, what they can do to facilitate things. This should be done with both the VISTA and the supervisor or the staff who will be taking over your responsibilities.
And VISTAs, one of the most helpful things you can do for not only a new VISTA coming in or just for the organization is prepare a need-to-know item for that person. Important guidelines for doing specific tasks, pointers for approaching community groups, lessons learned from what's been done. There's no need to reinvent the wheel if it's not necessary.
And organize your paper files. Make them easier for the next person to find out what they need.
And when appropriate, assist with recruitment efforts for the VISTA that'll follow you. It might be as simple as posting links to the position announcement using social media, or perhaps you have some friends that you think would be great for the position. So now I'm going to turn it over to our guest speaker, Christina, who is going to share a model that they can use, that her organization uses to get VISTA members thinking about what they need to pass on as they approach the end of service.
Hi, everyone. So as Amy mentioned earlier, I manage the CSU STEM VISTA program. We have 17 VISTA members placed at California State University campuses across the state. You'll see on the slide, this is a model that we introduced to both our VISTA members and supervisors at the beginning of the year to help them think critically and strategically about their projects, partnerships, and relationships, and the sustainability of their VISTA projects. The feedback model is an effective feedback process that involves asking questions and listening attentively. It's about listening to ourselves, reflecting on our thoughts and feelings, clarifying our hopes and intentions, and determining if and how to incorporate feedback. We teach and utilize this model with our VISTA members and supervisors throughout the year in a variety of ways, some of which I'll share today. So as described earlier on the previous slides, with the support of the supervisor, VISTA members should be passing on and transferring knowledge, products, and relationships. In the CSU STEM VISTA program, we encourage our VISTA members to run the feedback model on many of the aspects that they will be passing on. For example, if a VISTA member coordinated an event, it'll be important for the VISTA member to share not only how they planned the event, how they implemented the event, but 1, what went well, what was effective, 2, what was challenging, confusing, what were the obstacles, and 3, what would make this event even better for next year. This information can also be helpful to provide context on, community partners or key stakeholders. For example, if you were going to run this on a community partner organization, first, what is great about this organization? Sharing the number of volunteers they have this capacity to host, their distance from campus, the supportive staff members that they have, if they conduct background checks for volunteers. Second, outlining what was really challenging or what was an obstacle in this community partnership. Maybe it's difficult to get in contact with the volunteer coordinator because they're working with so many people. Maybe the volunteer roles and expectations and responsibilities are unclear. And lastly, what would make it even better? Perhaps suggesting some things for the next VISTA member or next staff person taking on the project, like setting up ongoing calls to touch base with that volunteer coordinator, or planning and co-facilitating a volunteer orientation at the start of the semester. The feedback model really allows for the next VISTA or whomever is taking over to have as much information as possible in order to hit the ground running. Now Renika will tell us some more about some upcoming webinars.
While we provided a brief overview, we do have other sustainability resources for both supervisors and VISTA members. Supervisors, for more information regarding project sustainability in the VISTA context, please view our recorded webinar for supervisors in the vistacampus.gov in the supervisor section. If your member has not already watched the member sustainability webinar, consider sending them the link for the member sustainability webinar. These webinars are great sustainability conversation starters. If either you or your VISTA is not sure what your role is regarding sustainability, review these webinars and set up a meeting afterwards to discuss what you learned and what the next step should be for your organization and the VISTA.
Thank you, Renika, and thank you, Christina. So we've explored the sustainability portion of close of service responsibilities for both, you members and the supervisors. But what about you as the VISTA? I mean, that's why you guys are here, right? To learn all about you and what you're going to do after service. And that's what I'm here to talk about. So, do you know what you'll be doing after this year of service? And supervisors, do you know what your VISTAs plan to do after service? So please enter your ideas in the chat box and make sure you send to all participants. We want your comments to be visible to everyone, so please make sure you enter them into the chat panel and not the Q&A panel further down the screen. So those questions, members, what's next for you? And supervisors, what's next for your VISTAs? And as these come in, I'm going to read some of them out. So someone's going to take a year to work before grad school. Great. Someone's going to move across the country. That's a big move. I've done that. Bold. I applaud you. Use NCE status. We're going to talk about NCE status. That is my favorite thing. Let's see here. So I think this is from a supervisor. The member still does not have an idea on what they're going to do. They may take on a full-time position, and they're also looking into another AmeriCorps program. So that's great as well. There's a lot of grad schools, a lot of law schools. You guys need a lawyer. William here might be a lawyer here soon. Do a year as a team leader. That's great. We are going to talk about VISTA leaders and those opportunities. This is great. Exploring opportunities in corporate philanthropy. Go Catherine, that's amazing. Someone's going to be moving here from Illinois to Florida and looking for work. Definitely going from one polar opposite, from the cold to Florida, which doesn't get too cold. Grad school or Peace Corps or local government job options. These are fantastic. Jordan, taking it up a step, she's going to, I'm assuming it's a she, it's not, moving to Germany to work. I want to move to Germany. Let me know how you found that out. Let's see here. Another supervisor here said that their VISTAs are going to go to grad school or maybe find a nonprofit job, volunteer overseas, and maybe work with them again, which sounds like you'd be super excited about that, so that's fantastic. A lot of medical school, federal employment. Someone here wants to visit Cuba with AmeriCorps. I'm not sure that's going to happen, but I like the dream. Second year at their site, they're going to serve again. That's great. And here Serena's going to do the military. So thank you, Serena. We appreciate you serving your country in that way as well. So these are great, everybody. This is a lot. So Renika, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay. Before diving into all of the options available to VISTAs after they complete service, a couple of key questions to think about.
So something you guys have already answered most of these, but are you interested in starting a career? And if so, what kind of career?
Does your resume reflect all you've learned during your year of service?
And do you maybe want to continue doing national service or even international service like some of you suggested here?
And lastly, are you interested in getting more education, college perhaps, grad school, or technical training?
So while it sounds like a lot of you kind of know what you're looking to do, some of you may not have an idea yet. And VISTA service is a unique experience that comes with many different options and opportunities that are really unique to you. It's not hard to feel like there's a lot of pressure with this big change and ending service looming on the horizon. So it's also important at the same time to know that this is the time to build your skill set and that you don't need to land your dream job right away.
And supervisors, VISTAs look to you for guidance on how to move forward. So we want to give you an overview of some of the options and benefits that are available to your VISTA members once they end service. Let's take a look at the most common paths taken by VISTAs.
So most VISTAs follow one of these three paths, which it looks like the majority of you are going to go with one of these three paths. VISTAs either pursue education, they're putting that education award to work, they're launching or relaunching a career using non-competitive eligibility, or employers for employers of national service, I should say, or perhaps even serving again with VISTA or another stream of service, such as Peace Corps or NCCC, Teach for America, etc.
Regardless, there are many options available. Right now, it's important for you to consider all of your options and understand the best way to travel down each path. Even if you don't want to pursue education right now, it'll be important for you to understand what steps to take should you want to do it in the future.
And supervisors, if you're not sure of what your VISTA's plans are for after their service ends, a great way to start that conversation is by using the Transition Talking Points resource that is located on the VISTA campus and is now being posted into the chat panel. This resource can help you frame those close of service conversations with your VISTA. You can use it as a guide to having those deep and ongoing conversations with your VISTA transitioning, and it can also discuss a little bit of the challenges and opportunities that they'll face. So definitely take a look at that and have those conversations with your VISTA.
So let's start by talking about education options. Some of you might decide to pursue education after your VISTA year, and there are many options available. In addition to college, grad school, and technical training, keep in mind there are other forms of professional development available.
There might be a certificate program offered by a Title IV institution that can give you a solid introduction to field work or to the field of work of an area study that interests you. Certificate programs are a fast and cheaper way to gain skills and exposure.
When we talk about education options, we're also talking about your VISTA's professional development. For VISTA supervisors, one of the best things you can do for your VISTAs is to encourage their own professional development by not just allowing, but rather encouraging your VISTAs to spend time each week working on their own development. You'll be doing them and yourselves a favor. They will become more knowledgeable in a variety of topics that will help them in their service and beyond. And VISTAs, talk to your supervisors about about different professional development opportunities you come across and see if they would support you in pursuing those opportunities.
Renika, though, that is important, though, to also talk to your supervisors about being professional, because we want to make sure you guys are professional VISTAs as well. So back to school. Starting school or continuing your education is a big step. And if you're considering additional education, ask yourself these 5 questions before spending all that money on textbooks and getting into all that debt. So first question, Renika.
Is it necessary to break into the field? In other words, does everyone in this field have an advanced or specialized degree?
And is additional school necessary to advance in the field? Research the leadership. Are they all credentialed? What's their experience like?
Are you passionate about it? Will you be passionate about this in 10 years? Did you write it down in your goal journal?
I have a goal journal. I like it. I suggest you write it. It's like a normal journal, but you write your goals in it. I know, crazy, right? And also, do you need to get that education right now? Maybe later is okay. Perhaps you can take time to gain that work experience in a field and consider the different options available to you once you have some experience.
And last but not least, but can you afford it? An education award will help pay for additional schooling, but it probably won't cover all of it. Do you know how to get the rest covered?
Yeah, that's a big one, getting school covered. So many of you might feel as though you need to continue your education. And while it might be true for some of you, not everyone needs to go to grad school or get their PhD or even get their bachelor's. Before you decide to pursue additional education, there is a great on-demand webinar entitled Planning Your Post-Service Career that includes a section on thinking through your options. The above questions are pulled straight from that webinar, so check it out for more insights. And Amy has posted this to the chat, so you can definitely link up to that right away.
If you will pursue education, one great benefit of VISTA service is the End of Service Education Award that you earn. You can use that award to pay down current student loan balances, future school loans, and more expenses related to education. Because everyone has different circumstances, it's important that you know about the resources available to help make decisions about using their education award.
And if you haven't already, review the Education Award website to learn more about the Education Award and form a strategy on how to use it. You can also discover other post-service opportunities related to school and student loans. As you can see from the 2 examples on the screen, there are a lot of different questions that you may have about the Education Award and how to use it. And this website will help you answer your questions so that you can make the best use of your Education Award. So now we want to hear from you. And this is by far one of my favorite slides because there's dogs on it. I mean, who doesn't love dogs right here? So what are the ways you are looking to use your Education Award? So please, you can select all that apply. Paying off your existing loans, maybe you're going to go to future school, maybe enrichment classes, maybe you're going to learn to play guitar, or you're going to be like a world-class photographer, or you can study abroad. Or you don't know yet, but the world is your oyster and you're up for it all. So just take a few minutes maybe not a few minutes, a few seconds, to go ahead and let us know how you're looking to use your Education Award. And if you've already done that and you've already answered the poll and you're waiting for it to close and you're waiting for everybody to answer, just look at the adorable dogs on the screen. And Obi here in the chat said their option's not there. Obi, let me know what your option is. Put it in the chat. I want to know. You don't know yet, but the world is your oyster. I thought that covered most of it, but I want to know what else there is. All right. All right. All right. Obi says he's planning to use it to pay his wife's schooling. All right, we're going to talk a little bit more about the Education Award as we get in here. So the poll, I think, is about to close here. Yep, it just closed. So we're going to see what the majority of you want to do. So let's see here. I'm waiting once again. The anticipation is killing me. Oh my gosh, Kate, I love your question. Study abroad is an option? I love it, the question, the exclamation mark. Why, yes, it is. It is an option. Study abroad is fantastic. So most people are looking to pay off student loans or for future school. Those are generally our most popular ones, so I definitely expected that. But I do like some people here that said they don't know some enrichment classes, and I'm thinking Kate volunteered to study abroad, so she didn't know it was available. So happy we could tell you that, Kate. So I'm going to turn it over to Renika now.
An important benefit related to the Education Award is the Education Award Match Program. There are many schools that have agreed to help AmeriCorps alumni by waiving application fees, providing a percentage of matching the Education Award, and in some cases, schools are even doubling or matching the Education Award and offer thousands of dollars of assistance in the cost of attendance.
And if your school doesn't currently offer a match to your Education Award, don't let that stop you from asking. One Vista shared a story recently where she successfully lobbied her school to match her Education Award, even though they weren't originally on the list. And it never hurts to ask.
Often Vistas have questions about how to access and manage their Education Award in My AmeriCorps. So let's take a moment to discuss it in more detail. Vistas who have chosen the Education Award will see the balance of the award under the link Education Award. Once your status changes to completed service, the balance becomes available for making payments. Additionally, a secondary benefit becomes available. A link for the Create Interest payment will become active. This allows you to request any interest that accrued while your student loans were in the AmeriCorps forbearance be paid. These payments do not come out of your Education Award balance. One thing to note is that during a period of extension, the only end-of-service benefit option available is a cash stipend. This means you can't continue to put your loans into AmeriCorps forbearance during the extension, as you won't have the Education Award during the period of extension.
That's right. And please note, I know this is unfortunate. You see taxes in the Education Award and it's like groan. Ugh, great. I know. There are tax implications with regard to using your Education Award. You will be taxed for using your Education Award in the year that you use it. So this may influence how much of the Education Award you want to use in a given year. Remember, you have 7 years to use it, and you don't have to use it all at once, so you might want to strategically plan how to use this. Additionally, you are also taxed on interest accrual payments in the year that interest is paid off on your behalf. So if you put your loan in forbearance and then you do that interest accrual payment, that is taxed as well, I'm sorry. And for those of you who chose the end of service stipend, that is also taxed in the year that you receive it.
Returning to school can also mean taking on more debt. So I'll mention 2 key programs to help you manage student loans. First, income-based repayment adjusts your monthly payments based on your income. It won't reduce the amount you have to pay back, but it will shrink your monthly payments to a manageable amount. While still in Vista service, your payment could even be as low as $0. $0,
that'd be fantastic. And the second is public service loan forgiveness. So I have a few questions here for you. Do you have federal direct loans? Are you considering working in a nonprofit, government, or education sector? If so, then you definitely want to learn about this program. Public Service Loan Forgiveness, or PSLF, states that after working for 10 years in public service positions and making 120 on-time payments during that time, any balance on your federal direct loans is forgiven. You heard that right. After 10 years of work and payments, you have the opportunity to have your loan balance erased. You apply for this at the end of the 10 years, but I suggest investigating the program now so that you can learn the type of loans that are eligible and also how you should record your progress throughout the 10-year period. Information about this program can be found on the Vista campus under Benefits of Service, and keep an eye on the chat for the link to more resources on this topic. This might also be something that you as supervisors want to look at too as well. I know you're here for your Vistas, which is fantastic, but hey, many of you are working in nonprofits or in education sectors, and you would qualify for this benefit as well. And also, I know we're talking a lot about the Education Award. Income-based repayments and public service loan forgiveness also apply to those who chose the stipend. So you don't have to choose the education award for this. If you have the end-of-service stipend, these can also apply to you as well.
Finally, don't forget to check out some of the webinars on the Vista campus around the Education Award and student loans. In September, we will be presenting a webinar focused on using the Education Award. Check the Vista campus in the coming weeks to register. And right now, there is an on-demand webinar entitled Managing Student Loans that can give you more information about, surprise, surprise, managing your student loans.
Renika, I was surprised that it was going to be about managing student loans. And a correction to the email, to the webinar, or the previous page. The webinar is actually going to be in July, so it's even closer than September. So it will be in July using the AmeriCorps, or using the Siegel AmeriCorps Education Award. That webinar will be in July, so keep an eye out. So now we're going to transition to discussing some career options. So some of you probably already have a good idea about the job prospects after your service, and we want to get a sense of what you're interested in pursuing after service. So please tell us, for those of you looking to start your career, what types of careers or job sectors appeal to you the most? So are you looking for the private sector or the public sector, maybe the government, or you're not sure yet, but you want to learn more about your options? And if you are intrigued by the little Vista astronaut here on the screen, that would be under government with NASA. So if you're thinking, I want to be a Vista astronaut, you definitely want to select government. So we're going to give you guys some times to do that. And Obi here in the chat, I like it. He's given us a lot of good information right here. Government job using USA Jobs. You are correct, my friend, and we are going to talk about USA Jobs here pretty quickly. So we just want to give people some time to do the polling. It's no pressure. If you don't know yet, just say you're not sure. There's no wrong answer with this. So it looks like we're going to have the poll here pretty soon. Sorry, I'm talking really slow. Oh, here it is. It's ended. We're waiting for those results. I think it's going to be, I don't have a read on this one. Renika, do you have a read on what you think most people are going to say?
I'm thinking government.
You're thinking government? I'm going to say the private sector. Let's see how we do. Let's see. Oh, suspense. I think Amy here is making me have a suspense. Oh, we were both wrong. We were both wrong. It looks like the majority of people are looking for the public sector. Right behind, I'm not sure yet, but I want to learn more about my options. Like I said, no wrong answer. I don't feel bad. Renika doesn't feel bad. You didn't guess what we wanted, but that's cool. So now we're going to talk about some career options. I know that you're interested in even if you don't, let's take even if you're not interested in a career right now, let's take a look at some of the different sectors, just go in a little bit more depth about those. So the first, nonprofit or those public sectors. This is the area that is most similar to where you are currently doing your service. So a nonprofit or social profit organization that is focused on community needs is a great place to be. But you also have to think about what kind of nonprofit do you want to work with. Do you want to work with one that maybe does direct service, such as services found at a homeless shelter? Perhaps a foundation is a good place. If you're interested maybe in working on policy issues or matters related to like international mission-based organizations. There are others on the list, such as think tanks, associations, and advocacy groups, so there's a ton in that sector.
Don't forget about working at an educational institution. Many higher education or learning centers conduct research on community impacts and social injustice issues. Perhaps there's a department or a program you can support. Not only could you get experience in that topic area, it might also help you decide if you want to pursue additional education. And I bet as a staff member, you have access to some really nice educational perks, such as reduced tuition and a discounted campus bookstores.
Man, those bookstores like are so expensive. Goodness gracious. Oh, so on top of the education, which we all love education, don't rule out working in the private sector. I know it was like the least number of people answered private sector, but excellent experience can be gained by spending a few years in the private or corporate environment. And many companies are socially conscious and have their own employee engagement programs. I think VISTA experience as a volunteer manager aligns very well with that area. Alternatively, if you're dedicated to philanthropic work, which I know some of you have indicated, there are many options at companies in the social or corporate responsibility sector and corporate philanthropy areas.
And don't forget about working for the federal government. It might turn out that your 3 favorite letters are NCE, since VISTAs and returning Peace Corps volunteers are unique in that they receive non-competitive eligibility, that word always gets me, upon successful completion of service. It never hurts to browse available positions and consider a career in the federal government. While on the topic of federal positions, let's talk more in depth about non-competitive eligibility.
You just said my 3 favorite words, which I don't know if non-competitive is technically one word, but I love non-competitive eligibility. I used non-competitive eligibility when I ended my VISTA year. It works, people. I promise you can get through USA Jobs. That is a feat in and of itself. If you can navigate through USA Jobs, you deserve a medal, because that is a confusing sight. So non-competitive eligibility, or NCE for short, is a hiring status granted to VISTAs for 1 year upon successful completion of your VISTA service. Non-competitive eligibility gives VISTAs a leg up in applying for positions in the federal government. Essentially, non-competitive eligibility permits you to compete in a smaller pool of applicants for federal jobs, drastically improving your chances for success. However, while your chances are improved, it is important to note that NCE does not guarantee that you will get a job. So if you do not have a medical degree and you apply to be a brain surgeon, just because you have NCE, they're not going to hire you for that. So you still have to be qualified. And having current NCE eligibility status does not mean that a former VISTA member, like I said, is entitled to federal employment. It does not require but it does permit an agency to hire a former VISTA member who meets the minimum qualifications for the position without having to go through all the formalities of the competitive process, which is really attractive to federal employers because the process can be kind of daunting.
This 1 year non-competitive eligibility status is only available starting from the date of service completion, and it expires after 1 year. So VISTA members who have completed less than 1 year of service, including training time, will not receive NCE status. Your service letter will be available online in your MyAmeriCorps account once you have exited from service, not before. It's important to remember that a lot of people get confused and then they call in and they think, you know, they can get it, but it doesn't come until after you're officially exited from service. So though the benefit lasts for 1 year, a federal hiring agency may extend the period of a VISTA member's NCE status beyond 1 year for 2 additional years, for a total of 3 years if the VISTA member is in the military service, Peace Corps, studying at a recognized institution of higher learning, or in another activity which, in the agency's view, warrants extension. Another thing to note is that many federal applications require the grade and series when proving or providing your NCE status. So this is important to note, VISTA members do not have a grade and series since they were volunteers and were not previously federal employees. So members who are in the NCE status must contact the employing agency to determine how they should fill out the application. And they usually have contact information at the end of the, on USA Jobs at the bottom saying, you know, where to apply or who to speak to.
That's right. And so, so speaking of USA Jobs, we're going to look about how you're going to go ahead and apply for these jobs. So here's a screenshot for USA Jobs. When searching for jobs, this is where you'd go if you want to get hired with federal government. For you to use this, I would definitely go to the advanced search page and elect yes as to whether you are an applicant with non-competitive eligibility. When you apply for positions on USA Jobs, you will be asked to attach your VISTA certification of service letter in order to show proof of your non-competitive eligibility status. But you're telling me right now, because I've seen this in the chat, and it's a great question, I don't end service for 3 months, but I want to start my job search now. I don't have this letter. What am I supposed to do? So Serena here in the chat, she definitely had something great. She said, in my application process, I've been telling them that I will get my NCE on July 30th, and then adding my letter of service in the application. That's a great way to do it. It's a great way, at the very bottom of the screen, like Renika mentioned, there is contact information for the hiring agency, usually their HR person. You can call them and say, hey, by the time this job is going to officially hire, I'll have my NCE status. How do I reflect that on my application because I want to apply with this status? They're generally really responsive. You can also go with what Renika, or not Renika, you're Renika that I'm talking to. Serena here said about attaching her currently serving letter so that they know that she is a VISTA, she will get this status on X date. But it's a great question because we want you guys to get started on that now, as USA jobs can take quite a long time. So Renika, I'll turn it back over to you to give us some more tips.
Okay, a couple of other helpful tips for navigating USA jobs. So, okay, finding jobs that are seeking out candidates with NCE can be a little challenging. You may want to search keywords such as VISTA, AmeriCorps, or Special Hiring Authority to get a listing of jobs that are looking to hire candidates with NCE. And sometimes if you do like saved searches or you do like advanced searches, you can type in that information like you have a Special Hiring Authority. Alternatively, if you know of an agency that you'd like to work with and they don't currently offer any NCE positions, reach out to the HR person listed on the announcement to see if preference is given to those with NCE. The HR person is generally listed at the bottom of the job announcement. The USA Jobs Resource Center even has a list of federal occupations by college major. Yeah, their search field is pretty extensive, so you can pretty much search for anything on there.
That's great information because I know some of that came in the chat here. They're talking about their college major, so that's fantastic. So that's USA Jobs. It can be a little bit daunting, but hopefully that gives you some good tips. Especially if you're interested, here's another thing that we wanted to talk about. It's a really great benefit to AmeriCorps alumni. So if you're specifically interested in positions with private, nonprofit, higher education, state or local municipalities or governments, the Employers of National Service program is a very recent addition to your arsenal of job hunting tools. So as part of the White House ceremony commemorating the 20th anniversary of AmeriCorps, President Obama launched Employers of National Service. According to President Obama, if you're an employer who wants to hire talented, dedicated, patriotic, skilled, tireless, energetic workers, look to AmeriCorps. Look to Peace Corps. Citizens who perform national service are special. You want them on your team. I think everybody on this webinar would agree. You guys, VISTAs, do amazing work. And Employers of National Service really is aimed at having employers who recognize the skills and dedication that you bring.
The Employers of National Service program strives to build a talent pipeline for employers which connects AmeriCorps alumni with leading employers to create recruitment, hiring, and advancement opportunities.
It also allows VISTAs access to a list of employers who value the work they did during service. A full list of participating employers is listed on the website.
And it allows employers to have new access to a dedicated, highly qualified, and mission-oriented pool of potential employers and national service alumni.
And remember that this list includes private, nonprofits, schools, state and local governments, as well as federal government employers. We highly recommend this resource to VISTAs looking to be employed by employers that understand and value the skills they gain during their VISTA year.
Here are just a few of the many employers of national service. You can see the variety of everything from nonprofit to federal agencies to private or corporate firms. Be sure to take a look at the list of employers on the website. As you review the list, obviously take a look at their open job positions, but don't let your research stop there. I'm sure many of you have a LinkedIn account, so connect with any of the potential employers and make sure you identify yourself as a VISTA alum. Also, check your connections to see if anyone is currently employed by one of these organizations. Talk to that person about what it's like to work there and ask if they can help with scheduling an informational interview. It never hurts to get your name out there.
And if you want to look at employers in your area, check out this map feature on the website and see all the employers of national service in the area you live or where you'd like to live. You can funnel it through federal government or institutions of higher education. If you're like, man, I'm living in Utah, but I really want to move to Puerto Rico, you're in luck. There is an employer of national service in Puerto Rico. So definitely check this out. Serena, she said, that's where I'm currently serving. Woohoo! So this is a great resource. Definitely take full advantage of it. Employers are being added every day. So please check it out. I know it's sometimes difficult to see how do we really show the work that we did as VISTAs and who's going to understand it. So these people are definitely a great asset, and we're going to talk a little bit more about how to translate your service into career speak here soon. But first we want to talk about additional employment resources.
Here are some other great places to explore during your job search. First is the VISTA Campus Job Board. Because your non-competitive eligibility status is very attractive to federal employers, we created a job board forum for the campus. So while this is used to post a variety of positions, VISTA members or leaders, it is our main vehicle for other federal agencies to recruit VISTA alums with NCE. Go to vistacampus.gov/jobs to view current listings.
And Amy just added that link as well into the chat. Another unique opportunity that is currently available to AmeriCorps VISTAs or any AmeriCorps ending is the Eli Segal Fellowship. So the Eli Segal Fellowship accepts highly qualified candidates for a 13-month immersion experience at the Corporation for National and Community Service. This fellowship will allow alums to gain firsthand experience in how a federal agency works, to implement policy and leverage national service in order to tackle some of the most pressing issues facing our nation. More information about the fellowship can be found on nationalservice.gov, and you can apply by visiting USA Jobs and searching Eli Segal Fellowship. We are also posting those links in the My AmeriCorps account. Someone here posted, I'm not done until August 27th, so they can't apply. Definitely look, if you're ending your service rather soon, you may still be eligible to apply for the Eli Segal Fellowship. And yes, we know that the deadline is tomorrow, but definitely it's something to check out. And another great career resource is AmeriCorps alums. So the AmeriCorpsAlums.org website has a lot of great information for AmeriCorps alums, not just VISTAs, but it has a job board, virtual career fairs, and links to other AmeriCorps alums in your area. Employers that are looking to hire alumni with non-competitive eligibility also advertise on this job board, so you'll definitely want to check that out. I also want to underscore that as a VISTA, you'll have access to all of these resources throughout your life. Once a VISTA, always a VISTA. So keep the campus job board and the AmeriCorps alum site bookmarked in your job search folder, because you never know when that VISTA experience will come in handy.
So you're about to end service and are ready to get a job and start a career. But how do you translate what you did during your year of service into career speak? Supervisors, have your VISTAs asked for your help describing their VISTA service? Please answer a poll. So let's do the questions. Oh, you gotta go ahead, Jessica.
I'm sorry. The question here: do you need help describing your VISTA service, or supervisors, have you been asked by your VISTAs to help describe this? And if so, in what capacity? So yes, for a resume or an interview, maybe for graduate school, or no, not yet, but tell me more. I think it's a pretty big people will ask. It's definitely a different. I like Sarah here. I don't think it's that hard to describe. You know, some of the nuances with VISTA can be a little difficult depending on what sector you want to go into. So we'll talk about it here, but we just kind of want to see here real quick what it's looking like. If you've had some trouble with this, if you have some questions about how exactly to explain your VISTA service. And Obi here said, there was a webinar for this. You're getting ahead of me, but I like it. So we'll get to that here in a quick second. We're just waiting for the poll to close. Oh, no need to apologize, Obi, I promise. So that poll just closed. I have a feeling it's going to be, I feel like there's going to be a lot of yeses, Renika. What about you? Do you think there's going to be a lot of no's?
No.
No. You said no to my no. Okay. So let's see here. I'm ready. I'm waiting for this poll. It knows I'm waiting so desperately. All right. Yeah, there were a lot of yeses. So yes, for resume or interview. So that's kind of the big one. There's not much for the graduate school applications. So while you as a VISTA, or maybe even as a VISTA supervisor, may know how incredibly awesome VISTA is and the impact that you have had on your organization and community, there's a good chance that employers may not know what VISTA is or what kind of activities VISTAs do during their year of service. So we just want to give you a few tips. So Renika, you want to start us off with these tips?
Yep. Let's see. Okay, first, prepare a 1 to 2 sentence description so that you can seamlessly explain VISTA to a potential employer. For example, it might say, AmeriCorps VISTA members live and serve in some of our nation's poorest urban and rural areas. With passion, commitment, hard work, and innovative solutions, VISTA members build capacity by creating or expanding programs designed to bring individuals and communities out of poverty.
You guys all dictated that, right? You guys got that all written down as she said it. No, it's okay. This is going to be recorded, so you'll have that. You can also describe capacity building activities. Examples of that might include the ability to do less with more, or I'm sorry, more with less. That didn't make any sense. Leveraging human, financial, and other resources to meet those organizational goals. Developing internal programs and strategies to make the organization more efficient, or participating in resource development and volunteer engagement to make the organization more sustainable.
Translate VISTA service and activities into the language of the sector or field that they want to work in. So research the specific field or job of interest, what terms are common in those job posts. Seek examples of resumes from people in the field, what terms do they use. Ask to set up an informational interview. Translate what you did in VISTA to this new language. For example, how might you describe your skills, experiences, or responsibilities to a nonprofit employer? How about to a for-profit employer, public employer, or educational institution? The same skill or activity can and should be translated to the language for each section. For example, community outreach could be translated into marketing for the for-profit employer or public awareness for a nonprofit employer. Making these distinctions will help you effectively reach the employers and sectors you are looking to work with.
And as a VISTA supervisor, one of the most helpful things you can do is encourage your VISTA to start building a portfolio. Collect writing samples, program materials, social media outcomes and evaluations, trainings completed, software used, etc. Encouraging your VISTAs to do that, or VISTAs who are on this call, I'm encouraging you to do this as soon as possible. Will help ensure that you have all the materials that you really need to sell yourselves to potential employers. So now I'm going to turn it over to Christina, who's going to share a few tools that her program uses to help members tell their VISTA story and prepare for finding employment. So Christina, on to you.
All right. So there are a few ways that we help prepare our VISTA members to talk about their VISTA service. We've adapted a tool for visual planning from the Grove Consultants International, which graphically tells the VISTA member's story. It kind of reveals their dreams and aspirations and interests and helps them outline the most recent key events, people, places, and activities. So really, we're just asking the VISTA members to reflect and map their history. We usually do this at our mid-year retreat, so about 6 months into their year of service. This really helps VISTA members reflect and articulate what they've been working on, with whom and how they've been collaborating, key learnings and accomplishments, and future goals, both during the next 6 months of VISTA service and personal and professional goals for life after VISTA. The Peaks and Valleys activity, which is kind of how it ends up mapping out. So the Peaks and Valleys exercise can provide insight into VISTA members' preferences and needs for next steps, including the type of work that they like to do, the office and community culture that they're looking for, the types of supervision that work best for the VISTA member. It also helps them identify key learnings and events throughout their year that could be referenced in a resume or interview. So another strategy we use to help prepare our VISTA members to talk about their year of service is, again, at our mid-year retreat, we put our VISTA members into small teams to provide resume reviews. Nothing feels worse than asking folks to review your resume and having it get sent back to you all marked up. So we use the feedback model that I shared earlier to ensure that our VISTA members comment on areas that worked really well on the resume, point out areas that were confusing or unclear, and offer ideas and suggestions to make it even better. Some of the key takeaways for VISTAs from this experience were that being intentional and focused on reviewing one VISTA member's resume for 30 minutes really forced the VISTAs to look critically at what was strong, confusing, what would make it even better. It was a really structured time to gather feedback on their resume from multiple perspectives. And another takeaway was that reading how some of the other VISTA members described their year of service gave the VISTAs new ideas on incorporating AmeriCorps into their resume. Similarly, we conduct mock interviews in teams of 3. VISTA members get to rotate role-playing the interviewer, the interviewee, and the observer. After the interview is complete, the VISTA members run the feedback model on the interview. What did the interviewee do well? Where did they get stuck, or where were they unclear in their responses? What would make the interview even better? Some key takeaways, again, for the VISTAs were that having an observer write down notes of where there was room for improvement and what they did really well gave the interviewee a tangible list that they could use to practice and incorporate into future interviews. VISTAs also felt that interviewing other VISTAs allowed for a safe space to discuss questions and strategies for better interviewing without the pressure. And finally, the process of conducting an interview and watching one helps you be more aware of your own mannerisms and length of your answers. If you aren't a sponsor and you're a single site, and it's more difficult to set up scenarios like this, a VISTA member and supervisor team can use this process together. It's also important to get outside feedback and seek multiple perspectives, so ask other staff members at your site too. I'll now pass it over to Jessica, who will wrap up this section about employment after service.
Thank you, Christina. We did get a lot here about those mock interviews. Definitely, like we said, if you're a supervisor, if you're a VISTA, you're the only VISTA at site, or you're a supervisor and you only have one VISTA, don't let that stop you. Definitely do those mock interviews with your VISTA or with your supervisor. Definitely get that practice in, because it'll also help your supervisor as well, especially if a new VISTA is coming in. So we also want to direct you now to some webinars that are related on career planning that will be helpful as you start to transition out of VISTA. We want to make sure you know how to sell yourself and what you did during service. So please join us on Translating Your Service to Resume and Career in June, which Obi had told me earlier. He was ahead of the game. There is also an on-demand session on applying for federal jobs using NCE, so please check that out as well. It's fine to use this time to build your skills. You don't need to land your dream job right away, but if you do, fantastic. But just remember, that doesn't have to all happen right now. I think that's one of the biggest takeaways we want from this. So now we're going to talk to you about serving again, because I know that there's some people here who do want to serve again. You may be interested in serving with VISTA again or with a different program. So here are just a few of the different opportunities that you may be interested in. So the first is another year of VISTA or serving as a VISTA leader. So if you want to serve another year as a VISTA, things are mostly the same as you did before. You may decide to serve at a different project or maybe remain at the same project you're at. You may also consider serving as a VISTA leader. VISTA leaders play a strategic role in recruitment, retention, and performance. So being a VISTA leader, it comes with all the same benefits of the VISTA program. However, it includes an increased living allowance amount. So just keep that in mind.
Or AmeriCorps, NCCC, which stands for National Civilian Community Corps. NCCC is a full-time team-based residential program for men and women ages 18 to 24. Members are assigned to one of 5 campuses nationwide. FEMA Corps, a unit of 1,600 Service Corps members within AmeriCorps NCCC, is solely devoted to disaster preparedness, mitigation, response, and recovery. If you're older than 24, you can apply to be an NCCC team leader. No previous NCCC experience is required. There's also AmeriCorps State and National. State and national members engages thousands of Americans in intensive community service each year and address critical community needs in education, public safety, health, and the environment, where VISTA participates in an indirect service. State and national members serve in a more direct capacity.
And if you want to explore things outside of AmeriCorps, there is also the Peace Corps. The Peace Corps is a preeminent international volunteer service program in the United States, and it sends American volunteers overseas for 27 months of service in various program areas. There was a few of you who are interested in Peace Corps, so that's definitely an option. And many of your VISTAs, if you're a supervisor or you as VISTA members, may want to consider private volunteering. Private volunteering can be anything from serving with like a local community organization, schools, hospitals, or even after-school programs. By private volunteering, we're just touching on the fact that VISTAs continue a lifetime of service and being active citizens. It's our hope that what you'd learned during your service will carry with you for the rest of your lives and that you'll continue serving. So these are just a few different ways to do that.
Now that we've talked about sustainability, educational, career, and service options for after service, and how you can prepare for life and career after VISTA, now comes the administrative tasks associated with ending your VISTA service.
Yeah, I know. I know what you're all thinking. You know, like, I did all this paperwork when I started. I got to do more paperwork when I end. Yes, but there were a lot of questions from you guys in the registration about what kind of stuff you have to do to successfully end your service. So as a VISTA member, you will need to complete your future plans form, or it's your end of service or close of service form in your MyAmeriCorps account. This form will become available to you 90 days from your scheduled end date. And you should also complete the exit survey. The survey, it asks for your input about your experience with VISTA, and it really does help us improve the program. So we appreciate when you can give us your feedback, so I definitely encourage you to do that as well. Please make sure you update your forwarding mailing address in MyAmeriCorps. So if you relocated to serve and you may have updated your address or you're moving, make sure that that's updated. If you relocated to serve, like I just said, you should submit your close of service travel reimbursement voucher to the VISTA Member Support Unit. This voucher will be posted to your MyAmeriCorps account 15 days before you end service, and you'll need to print that, sign it, and send it into the VMSU in order to be reimbursed. And last but definitely not least, download your certification of service letter. This is the letter that you'll need if you want to use non-competitive eligibility, and it will be available to you once you end service.
As a supervisor, you should make sure that knowledge, products, and relationships have been documented. You have completed the VISTA's final performance evaluation and exit interview. You have completed the future plans form Part B, performance evaluation. If you are a sub-site supervisor, you may not have access to complete this in eGrants. You should follow up with the VISTA project director with regard to completing this form, and you should certify future plans form.
So we've talked about many different resources on this webinar today, and so here's a summary of the big ones. I know, the screen is overwhelming, but please remember this webinar is being recorded. We will have access to this information, so you don't have to write this all down. You'll also find a list of this on the VISTA campus, like I said, once this webinar is posted. We're also sharing a few new resources that we hope you'll find valuable.
If you're ready to start searching for or researching potential jobs, start with the VISTA Job Board, USA Jobs, or AmeriCorps alums. Depending on the sector of interest, you may also want to explore sites like www.idealistcareers.org, Indeed.com, SimplyHired.com, and Monster.com.
And if you're considering education, check out a list of grad fairs hosted by Idealist.org. These are programs specifically focused on careers that benefit the public, from international affairs to social work to environmental science. Also explore listings on the Princeton Review, where you can search by specific program types and schools.
We also have links to resources specific to VISTA alums here. I highly recommend that you check out the great resources at Preparing for Life After VISTA, and you can see the URL on your screen here.
So, just to recap a few of the next steps as you begin to transition to life after VISTA. So start the process of transferring knowledge, products, and relationships. If you're a VISTA, please start doing that with your supervisor, and supervisors work with your VISTAs to get this started as well. Also, choose a path or support your VISTA if you're a supervisor as they choose whether they'll seek further education, maybe start or rekindle a career, or planning to serve again. You can access the resources on this webinar to begin that background search for what's next. Also, access special VISTA programs such as the Education Award, Non-Competitive Eligibility, and Employers for National Service. Document your VISTA experience on your resume. That is a wonderful thing to put on there. It's unique. It makes you stand out. Please put that on your resume. And ask for, if you're a VISTA, or write one, a letter of recommendation. Ask for those. Make sure that, that you have that all ready to go once you're looking to apply for positions.
Great. Thank you, Jessica, Christina, and Renika. You were fantastic, and we have a lot of great questions that have come in from our audience. Before we move on to the Q&A portion of the webinar, we want to know what you thought of this session. So Jenny has opened up a poll to evaluate the session. Please take a few minutes before you log off to let us know what you thought. Of course, we'll use this information to improve future webinars, so don't forget to fill out our evaluation. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to the Q&A portion of the session. Obviously, we've given you a lot to think about. We have a lot of great questions that have come in. At this time, I'm going to ask Amy, our operator, to provide instructions on how people ask a question via phone. Go ahead, Amy.
Thank you. If you would like to ask a question, please press *1. Please unmute your phone and record your name when prompted. It is required to introduce your question. Once again, that's *1 if you would like to ask a question.
Thank you. So, Jessica, shall we start with some of the questions that came in through the chat and Q&A?
Yeah, I think that makes sense, Amy.
All right, so we had a lot of questions about NCE, which I'm sure you are aware of. Let me find, we had questions about, let me just recap those. When should they start applying and using their NCE status? When does each NCE status begin? And how do you take care of that if you're trying to apply for a job using NCE before you finish service? So some NCE recaps would be great.
Yeah, no, those are great. And you knew it was my favorite topic, so that's why we went there first. So NCE. So for non-competitive eligibility, if you're looking to apply with the federal government, it can take months upon months to get hired. For when I use my non-competitive eligibility, I think I applied for my position in March and I got hired on in July. So it can take a while. It's definitely a good idea to start, maybe 3 to 4 months before you're planning to end service. I would definitely contact the HR person, letting them know that you're hiring, that you're looking to apply and that you have non-competitive eligibility. As I mentioned, we know that you don't get that non-competitive eligibility. It doesn't take effect until you end service. So you don't have that letter, you don't have that proof of non-competitive eligibility until you end. But as Serena mentioned in the chat, she mentioned that what she's done is that she's applied, told them that she's going to end on July 30th, which then means she would have NCE starting the next day, and attaching her currently serving certification letter. That's probably the best way to do it. You can also contact the HR person that's listed at the bottom of the job announcement you're interested in applying for, and just say, I'm serving as an AmeriCorps, I'm going to have an AmeriCorps VISTA, I'm going to have a non-competitive eligibility starting on X date. I want to apply under non-competitive eligibility. What do I need to do? And they're generally pretty helpful. While we're on the topic of non-competitive eligibility, Alexander did here, he asked, if you attend school and or service in the military after VISTA, a hiring agency can extend your non-competitive status for up to 3 years. Can you explain? Well, yes, I can explain. You can go, if you serve as a VISTA and then you get your non-competitive eligibility and you do grad school for 2 years. and then you apply for, let's just say, FEMA. The hiring agency has the ability to extend your non-competitive eligibility up to 3 years after, or for up to a total of 3 years, so extended an additional 2 years from when you ended service. So, so that's up to the hiring authority. What you would do is you'd apply and say, hey, I served as a VISTA, you know, a year and a half, 2 years ago. I had this non-competitive eligibility. It expires after a year, but you have the authority to extend it if you so wish. It's done through the hiring agency, that extension. The extension is approved through the hiring agency. It's nothing that AmeriCorps Vista does, but you're going to need that certification of service letter that talks about non-competitive eligibility. That's kind of how you can get that extended, but it's really at the discretion of the hiring agency. So just make sure that you talk to them about it and see what documentation they might need in order to approve that extension.
Great, thank you, Jessica. Let's go ahead and check to see if we have any questions on the phone. Amy, do we have any questions on the phone?
Not at this time.
Okay, great. Well, we'll go back to our list then. So we had quite a few questions about student loans and also using the Education Award. So one question that came up, a theme we had was, do institutions ever match for paying off student loans?
That is a very good question. So kind of how they do the matching of the education award. I have never heard of that. That's a great question, though. It's not anything that I've heard of. That they've matched the balance. If you owe $2,000, that they'll match it and do $4,000. I know a lot of loans are also through private lenders or through something else and not necessarily through the institution. I don't think that that's something that's available, but it's definitely something you can research with your school to see if, you know, maybe in lieu of matching your education award for your future school, maybe they can match your loan. It's always worth asking, but it's not something that that's out there and that's known as a benefit at this time.
Great, thanks, Jessica. And another question came in around the Education Award, and a few people asked, can they split their Education Award? So, for example, could they use part of their Education Award to study abroad and then part of their Education Award to pay for remaining student loans?
And the answer is, of course, yes. The great thing about the Education Award is that you have 7 years to use it and that you can use it piecemeal or you can use it all at one time. So you can definitely pay a little bit of your loans here, do study abroad here, learn guitar here. Like, you can totally use it those different ways just to make sure, you know, if you're paying off a loan that it's eligible for the Education Award and that the school you're going to is Title IV. But yeah, you can definitely use those how you want to. You can, you know, dispense the money how you wish.
Wonderful. I think that sounds really flexible and great. Some other questions around student loans and forbearance, and particularly around the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program, and that's the program where you work in a nonprofit for 10 years, your loans can be forgiven. Someone asked, if you have 120 payments, do they have to be consecutive? For example, I went into forbearance for a few months while moving, and another person wanted to know, do these payments, 120, need to be consecutive?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So, so no, the payments do not have to be consecutive. So if you work 2 years in a nonprofit and you're making those on-time payments and then you leave for 10 years and work in the corporate world, and then you come back for the remaining 8 years and make your on-time payments, that definitely still counts. They don't have to be consecutive. But you do have to be making those on-time payments while you're working at, whether that's a nonprofit, government, public service, those sorts of things. You can't, like, work 10 years in public service but then not have been paying your loans at that time. So, so it doesn't have to be consecutive years. You don't have to do it back to back, but there have to be 120 on-time payments while you're serving or while you're working in public service. And your VISTA year can count towards that 1 year, so you can get credit for your VISTA year as well.
Great, thanks, Jessica. So switching gears a little bit, Nicole wanted to know regarding employers of national service, how do they get their organization on the list for employers of national service?
That's a great question. So, So with getting your organization on there, there are a few criteria that the organization has to fulfill, but there is an application form on that on the Employers of National Service website. I think it's a little bit of a different link than what that we put in the chat, since we gave you the names of places. But there is a form on there that organizations can use to apply to be considered an employer of national service. So definitely have, who's ever the delegated authority at your organization fill out that form if they're interested.
Great, thanks, Jessica. And I know our organization here at Education Northwest is an employer of national service, so check us out, you guys. Checking with our operator, Amy, do we have any questions on the phone?
Yes, we have a question from Ariel Smith. Your line is open.
Hi, thank you so much for the webinar. I actually have one question on behalf of one of my fellow VISTAs that isn't here, and then one for me.
Okay, you're asking for a friend, I see, okay.
Yeah, so I'm trying to cover all the bases, standing in the gap. So basically, her question is, if she has served 18,000 hours, I know the threshold is like 17,000 or so for the Siegel Award, but she's leaving a month early, would she still be able to qualify for the Education Award?
So it sounds like with your friend that she may not actually be serving in VISTA. So VISTA is not hours-based. Like NCCC and AmeriCorps State National, they have to serve, I think, 1,750 or 1,700 hours in order to get that education award. So I'm not sure if your friend is serving as a VISTA. If she is serving as a VISTA, in order to get her education award, she does have to finish her service term, or say, for example, she was going to leave, 2 weeks early, but she was going to go to a different AmeriCorps program. That could be considered a compelling reason for ending service, and she could get a prorated award. But with VISTA, you have to serve your full service term in order to get your full education award, and there's only limited circumstances if you end service early that you can be eligible for a partial award.
Got you. Thank you so much. So my question is, I heard that there are a website that you can go to for jobs in higher education, and that's what I'm really interested in. So do you mind repeating what that source was?
And where, so I'm sorry, and you said for education, let me take a look here.
Yeah.
I think it was Princeton Review. Was it on one of the last slides that we discussed?
I'm only on the phone, so I wasn't.
Oh, okay, sorry about that. Oh, no, you're fine. So we had idealist.org.
Okay.
And then Princeton Review. So if you just Google those two names, you'll get it.
I never thought of them for jobs. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And this is Amy. Just as a reminder, everyone, we will be sure to post all of the links that we shared along with the recording of this session, and we'll send you an email once those are posted, so don't worry if you weren't able to get all of those written down. Okay, Jessica, so we had quite a few questions also come in through our Q&A. Let me see here. There's more questions about NCE. I think we covered many of those, and I know there's a lot more information on the NCE page.
Yeah.
One question in particular for extensions of NCE. Do you know how often those are granted? Is that rare, or is that something that people can get fairly easily?
I think you're reading my mind, Amy, because I saw that question come in here from Alexander about if it occurs, because he doesn't want to, if it doesn't occur very often, he doesn't want to stake all of his hopes in that. So that's a great question. So I have never heard of it not being extended. Granted, I don't know why. Maybe Vista wouldn't contact me if it didn't get extended. So I've never heard of it not getting extended. But if you're concerned about that, I would contact the organization now and just say, hey, I have non-competitive eligibility. Do you know, I'm interested in going in grad school. Do you know, have you ever extended non-competitive eligibility? What's the most likely way that you would do that? I mean, that's the best way. I'm going to turn it to Renika. Renika, have you ever heard of this, or do you have any suggestions?
About the extensions?
Yeah, have you ever, as your role at the VMSU, have you ever heard of an extension for NCE being denied?
No, it really just depends. I think it really just depends on how much the company wants to hire the person, you know, your qualifications and everything. And I really don't even think that there has to be a, you know, how we gave examples of why they may extend it. I mean, it's still up to it's at their discretion. So they can extend it if they want to hire that person, you know, and they felt like, you know, I mean, I'm not going to say that it's been 2 years and that they feel like they want to extend it then, but, you know, if it's been like a year and 3 months, they may say, okay, we'll go ahead and extend it so that you'll be eligible for this position.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, another thing to keep in mind about non-competitive eligibility, it helps out the employer. It makes their life easier. They don't have to jump through as many hiring hoops. So a lot of times it's in their best interest if they have someone who has non-competitive eligibility, like, great, let me extend that bad boy because this will, like, help me out. So Alexander and whoever else also has this question, because I'm sure you're not the only one, I would check with the agency you're looking to hire or work with, and just talk to them. Like I said, I've never heard of it. It's in the best interest of them. Like, it simplifies their lives, so I wouldn't see why they would deny it, but it all depends on the agency.
Great, thanks, Jessica. I saw a couple questions come in, switching gears a little bit, around being VISTA leaders. So one person asked, how do they become a VISTA leader? And then someone else asked, how many terms can you serve as a VISTA leader?
Yeah, those are great questions. Renika, do you want to answer this one, or do you want me to take it? We'll tag team it. We're going to tag team it.
Yeah,
yeah, definitely. So you have to serve at least 1 year in a national service program, like one full-time year of service. So if you finish your VISTA year, that counts. So you have to serve at least 1 full year. And then you can apply just like you did for your normal VISTA position. You just apply on AmeriCorps.gov, or I'm sorry, nationalservice.gov. You apply through there, and you can filter it by searching for VISTA leader positions. So you can definitely do that. Is there a limit on how many times you can serve as a VISTA leader? So generally, you can't serve with VISTA more than 5 times, and even a 5th time is rare. So with that logic, most people who are a VISTA leader have served with VISTA before. So more than likely, you probably couldn't serve at the most as a VISTA leader for 4 years. However, if you served with NCCC or something ahead of time and that makes you eligible to be a VISTA leader, then under that logic, you could definitely serve for 5 years as a VISTA leader.
Or even a Peace Corps.
That's true, or Peace Corps as well. Yeah, Peace Corps if you have a Peace Corps year as well. So definitely you can, like I said, serving 5 terms is rare. And know that with the Education Award, you only can get up to 2 full-time Education Awards. And then after that, you would either need to choose a 0 value Education Award or the stipend. So just keep that in mind as well. But generally 4 to 5.
Great, thanks, Jessica. So I just want to do a quick time check. We do have 1 minute left officially on our webinar for today. So I'm going to have Jenny go ahead and show us our last slide just to remind everybody about upcoming webinars that we have going. As you can see, we have a member webinar coming up, our very next one next week on online fundraising, May 25th. You can sign up for that at vistacampus.gov. And that's for members. And then for supervisors in June 21st, we'll be offering responding to member challenges. So please take a few minutes to sign up for that one, and supervisors join us in June. So Jessica, how would you like to proceed? Do you want to continue maybe a few more minutes of questions?
Yeah, so if there's people here who still have questions, we can definitely stay on for a little bit and answer those questions, but we do want to be respectful of time because we know people probably need to go. So I know Sarah said, if you didn't answer our questions, will you be answering them individually? Sarah, please type in your question and I will definitely answer your question right here. But if you do need to go and you can't stay with us for additional Q&A, we do have VISTA webinars at cns.gov. It's on the screen right now, so please email us there as well. It's not like the black hole email. We do check it. So we can definitely stay on and answer a few more questions if you all have them. But yeah, so definitely email us or if you need to go, but we'll be here.
Great, thank you, Jessica. And a question that came in a while back, and I did respond in the chat about this, but I just wanted to reiterate. Several people asked for sample resumes that provide language for describing your VISTA service. And I work on the VISTA campus. I don't have samples that I know of. Do you, Jessica?
I don't, but I know that one of our colleagues here is doing that translating service into your resume, that webinar that's coming up. So I'm sure they'll have sample resumes on that one as well.
Great, and we have ran that webinar before, and I know in the recording of that, which you can find on vistacampus.gov, there are some great samples of how people transformed their resume to describe their service in detail. So either join us for the next live session or you can access the recording of the previous session online. And let me just check with our operator, Amy. Do we have any other questions on the phone, Amy?
There are no questions on the phone.
Okay, great. So Jessica, I'm curious, as a recap for people that maybe still have questions, for NCE, my understanding, and tell me if I'm correct, is that they can access the NCE website for more information. If they have even more detailed questions, who would they go to with those questions?
Yeah, so no, that's a great question. So yeah, so definitely the NCE website is great for those questions about NCE on the VISTA campus. You can also email vistaoutreach@cns.gov, or even, you know, I know we're saying a lot of stuff here, but even if VISTA webinars at cns.gov, we'll get you to where you need to go. But VISTA Outreach at cns.gov really deals with a lot of our alumni and a lot of those NCE questions. And you can even contact the VISTA Member Support Unit as well through the National Service Hotline, and they should hopefully be able to answer some of your questions.
Great, thank you. So I think we answered the majority of questions and some of the themes that came up. So at this time, I think we could probably go ahead and close up the webinar.
There is one quick thing, Amy. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
One last thing, because Sarah did post her question. She did listen to me. She said, I want my question answered, so I want to answer her question, even though a lot of helpful VISTAs did respond to her as well. Someone wanted to know, is there a strategy for using the Education Award to lessen the taxes you have to pay on it? For example, using under a certain amount within a given year. As was mentioned in the chat by some other VISTAs, there are a couple of webinars we just did, Managing Your Student Loans, which is a great way to learn how to lessen your tax implications. Another good key to know regarding your example of if you use under a certain amount, if you use under $600, if you use more than $600 within a given year of your Education Award, it will be taxed, and you'll get a 1099 on your MyAmeriCorps account to put in your taxes for that year. So if it's under $600, you won't get one of those 1099s, but if it's over $600, that's what you need to be aware of. Granted, you're eventually going to have to pay over $600 in a year because you'll never use all of your Education Award that way if you don't. So so that's another way, but Serena and Jessie really put some great things in here about those other webinars that we've done before, so hopefully that's answered her question. And then I did have another question here because Catherine reposted it. She said, and Renika, I'm going to shoot this one over to you. I relocated at the beginning of the service, but I do not plan to move back to my previous city. How do I answer this question on the relocation travel from the website? How does she answer that, or what would you recommend to Catherine?
By law, we have to give them, you know, the relocation. Even if she stays, she can decline it. Like, she can write a letter to decline if she doesn't want the relocation allowance, but we have to give it to them. So even if she's staying there, she can still fill out her information, and we have to give it to her. If she doesn't want it, we've had that happen before too. If you don't want it, they write a letter, let us know that they don't want it, and they're staying and they're staying where they relocated to at first. So that's the best way to handle it.
That makes sense. Yeah. So Catherine, you're entitled to it. If you would like to decline it, just let the VMSU know in writing. But you are entitled to it, so that's just for you. And one last question, and she might have already left. Rania, and I apologize if I'm saying that incorrectly. She said, "Can you have a part-time job with NCE?" So yeah, so there are definitely there are jobs on the federal government that are part-time positions. So if it's accepting non-competitive eligibility, you can definitely use your NCE for part-time jobs. But Amy, I'm going to turn it back over to you, and I think you can wrap this up.
Great. Well, I just want to thank all the members and supervisors that attended this session. We really appreciate you being here. We will post the recording soon, and you'll get an email. If you would like to sign up for future webinars, please go to vistacampus.gov and click on Connect and Learn to see a list of offerings coming up in the next couple months. So thank you, everybody. Have a great rest of your week, and we will see you online soon.